so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the pea heads themselves. I am your pea head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's Pea Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Gerri Mana. Gerri is a visionary, seer, healer, and coach who works with women to ignite their spark for life and their greatness well into their 50s using intuition, visioning, and alchemy. Hi, Gerri. Welcome to the show.
Hello, darling. Thank you for inviting me. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very excited because we connected a bit offline before scheduling this, and you're so cheery and just have such amazing energy. So excited to dive into this with you. But before we, talk about everything mentioned in your intro, why don't we start at the beginning and hear, really like where you've come from, what your life has been like up until now, and how maybe you got to what you're doing now.
Yeah. Okay. God. How long have I got for that?
I know. It's a grand question.
I'll say that again.
I said it's a very broad, grand question. I know, but
it's awesome. It's almost too awesome. So instantly, my mind went to how could I put it into a sentence or a phrase for some reason. And the first thing that came to me was pain to purpose and fear to love. And oh God. As I share that, I just feel myself welling up. It's really interesting because I think what's really important for me is to fly the flag of, God, it's really weird. I feel like I'm about to burst into tears. Fly the flag of no matter, like if you're in a dark place, or if life is tough, if you've got problems, conflict, it's super powerful. It's an incredible place to be because there's going to be a learning and a massive growth when you come out of it. And that's what I fly the flag for. I think I spent it's really weird. We're on a Positive Head podcast. For many years, I was a fake positive person. I actually had a front of being super positive and super happy, and people couldn't connect with me. And I kind of didn't realize it at the time, even though, boyfriends would maybe say it to me or whatever. I didn't understand it because I was trying to understand it in my head because I was living in my head. I was not connected with my emotions, my real emotions, because I had so much grief and sadness and pain and anger as well trapped within me. And, you know, I don't want to kind of go down the why road so much, but the gift that gave me all of those emotions that I literally kept trapped within for almost 3 decades was my dad dying when I was 6. And I was there when my mum got the call. And even though she actually never told me what had happened or even that he had died, before she got the call, before she picked up that phone, you know, one of those old-fashioned ring-a-ling phones, I knew what she was going to be told. So my siblings were all in boarding school, and they were called back from boarding school. I was shunted off to a neighbor's house. And even when they had the funeral, no one actually pulled me aside and told me what was happening. So yeah, all of that pain, all that grief held in for so many years. And my way of coping with my quite difficult childhood was to be positive and to make everyone else happy. And, you know, yeah, there's been a few times in my life. I think the first time that I realized that was going on, it was after a Reiki session. I think it was one of my first Reiki sessions when I was probably in my 20s. And I was thinking, oh my God, that is who I am. I'm putting this facade on. Does that make me a fake? So I think that was my first dive into personal development and, you know, being aware, self-aware. But yeah, just coming back to that place of, this is why I do what I do, and this is why I can connect with people to guide them through not so much their toughest times, but actually to show them how they can alchemize, transform anything that has happened in their life into their treasure, you know, their gold. So yeah, I'm big into alchemy and using chocolate as well, sacred cacao, to take people on those journeys.
Oh my gosh, there's like there's so many things you just said that I could go off on, like and just it's so synchronistic because everything you're talking about is kind of themes that have been coming up in my life, especially about alchemy. Like I think, you know, this theme of getting I was watching that her name's Greta something. She's a 16-year-old activist from like Sweden. I don't know if you've seen her, but she's been going to these huge environmental summits and just straight up like calling out you know, all the billionaires who say they're going to do something but they don't do anything, and they fly in on private jets and they don't care about the environment. And anyway, something that she said in her speech was to the people listening was, I want you to get mad. I want you to get angry about this, but I want you then to use that anger and turn it into action. Like, get mad and then do something. And, you know, when she said that, it really clicked for me, because for me, for so long, I never wanted to come off as like getting riled up about something or angry about something, because I felt like it was wrong or I don't know, like I was making a scene or something, and everyone would tell me to, like, you know, like my parents would had to tell me to calm down. But when she said that, it really made sense to me. Like, you have to use that energy and turn it into action. You can't just, I mean, you can just sit in the anger if you want, but it's unproductive. And so when you're talking about alchemy, that's the first thing I thought of. It's like, and you're talking about like, use this pain inside of you and turn it into something productive, turn it into action. Because I mean, and I guess I'm curious if you can elaborate on that. Like, you know, if someone does know, for example, they have this deep sadness inside of them, or anger inside of them, but they're afraid to kind of go into it because they've kept it down for so long, and they're afraid, because I know I can speak to this myself. It's like, if you take, if you open Pandora's box, what's going to come out type of thing, or will I ever be able to keep it down, or will I be able to transmute it? Will I be able to use it in the way that I want to use it? So what would you say to somebody who's kind of feeling that right now and afraid to access that energy?
Okay, well, I love that question. And actually, I when I answer, I'd love to come back to you and ask what that activist actually tells us to do, because one of the things that blows my mind is, like, what should we be doing? You know, like, we're the 99%. What action can we be taking? Because there's so many people that don't want plastic in our oceans, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to come back to that at the end of my answer. But okay, so the first thing is, I love the question, and it just excites me, and I can answer it because it's actually one of the things that I'm super passionate about. And that is that, well, first of all, it's another question. Why are we not taught this in schools? And that's one of my missions, to get this into schools. So it's actually super simple to deal with those emotions. But what's happening is that the ego, or I like to call the identity are, the part of us that are our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs and our assumptions, our identity doesn't want us to feel the feelings, because the identity, or the ego is another word for it, is telling you or trying to get you to believe that you will die. It's not safe to feel the feelings. So that's why so many people find it so much easier to be in their head. And many people go to therapy for years and years and years, and they don't change. They don't transform because they haven't felt the feelings, and they haven't transformed the energy of the feelings. So the same triggers, the same people, the same situations, the same patterns, the same relationships in the workplace or in their love life or whatever, keep manifesting, and they don't create their dreams because there's still that inverted commas density there. So, coming back to what can they do? And it's simply breathe. When we're taking a slow, deep, conscious breath, and sometimes I offer the suggestion to my clients to breathe in for the count of 7 or close to, and breathe out for the count of 11 or close to. And that's quite a long, deep breath, so you probably won't be able to get to 7, 11. But when we're counting for a start and focusing on our breath, your mind is not trying to analyze, the analysis paralysis. And what happens is that you transmute the feeling. So the first thing is to take a breath, and then another. And the second thing is to identify where in the body are you feeling that emotion. Is it in the heart, stomach, head? So just identify where you're feeling the most intense emotion. And if you want, you can even name the emotion. Is it sadness? Is it grief? But it doesn't matter. It's not, you don't have to actually name it, because you don't want you getting caught up in your head again. And then what you have to do is to give it a number. If 0 was no emotion, that emotion was completely clear, and 10 was the most you could imagine, what number would you give it? And again, it's not important what number you give it. We don't want to get caught up in our head around this, either. So what number? And what you do is you literally stay with the emotion, keep your consciousness there while taking those deep, juicy, deep breaths until you get to 0. So every few minutes or even every few seconds, sometimes you can clear these emotions. Even if you're at a 10, you can clear these emotions in a few seconds if you just stay with the breath. Don't get into the head. We're not trying to change or analyze or move or control these emotions, these feelings, or we're not trying to, we're not judging them, or we're not judging you for having them. You're simply being with it while breathing. And this is deep alchemy. Sometimes it helps to actually lie down and put your hands, like solar plexus is somewhere before someone comes into a big heart opening. There can be a lot of pain, sometimes manifests in digestion and heartburn and things like that. There can be a lot of trapped emotions in the solar plexus area. That's just below the breastbone. And I know I was stuck in that area for literally years. At times I felt like there was an alien wanting to get out, before I was able to kind of move into and live, hopefully, most of the time in my heart. Like it was almost sometimes even a pulsing Alexa. It was powerful, some deep, very dark emotions in there. So literally for years I used to do this exercise. And this is something I still teach my clients. And what's beautiful now is that when I'm in a session with a client, because I'm an empath, but I'm not an empath that's kind of, what I call an empowered empath. So I'm able to feel what's going on with someone else, but it's not hurting me. It's not affecting me. So I kind of know what's happening with them, what emotions that they are close to clearing. So yeah, I guide them through this process, and literally it takes seconds, and it can be as simple as that. Often, when emotions come up, we need to get back to the childhood or even sometimes the past life reason for why that's coming up and why that keeps repeating. Because when you know what the situation was, whether it was in your childhood or a past life, it allows you to stop the pattern and also to realize why you're attracting similar situations in your life. Very often, I'll stop now, towards the end of the answer now, but very, very common. I work with women and actually men as well who have been punished in previous lives, sometimes many lives over, for being a witch. So they wonder why they're not getting clients or why they're not able to get their coaching or healing practice off the ground and make it successful, even though it's what they love and they've done lots of work on themselves. It's because they were punished in the previous life and they're still carrying those emotions. So yeah.
Wow. I love that, it's fully resonating with me. And I have seen, I've just speaking about the breath for a second, and also what you're talking about is, I love that you said, you're not trying to change it. You're not trying to analyze it. You're not trying to fix it. You're trying to give acknowledgement and feel it, because that is, as far as I understand, that's really what emotions are here to do. They're here. Yeah. They're kind of like signals going off in your car, like, hey, check engine light, like, hey, like something over here, you need to look at this. And we treat it like, like we don't want to see the light. We don't want to get the notification, and we just don't never deal with it. And I know, the power of breath work is huge, because as far even just taking myself, I know I don't take as many breaths as I could in a day, and sometimes I forget to breathe. And when you were talking about how sometimes you feel like, I don't know if you said a dragon or something in your solar plexus, that something was trying to get out. It's so funny because the past couple days, every once in a while, unconsciously, I'll just be like that, it'll just come out, and I can feel there's this energy kind of stuck in my it's in the top half of my body. It's kind of just there, and it's almost like something wants to, but it's not moving. And anyway, so I just I resonate with all of that intensely, especially right now. And I think that's so powerful. And I think I have one question about, so let's say it is from a past life. How do you, first of all, know that? Because a lot of us are not conscious of our past lives, right? Maybe we can feel oh, maybe this happened in a past life, but we don't actually know. So how can you identify if it is something from a past life when you have nothing tangible really to go on?
Right. Okay. Sure. Well, it's interesting, actually. When I started out using shamanism, there was a lot of past life stuff coming up. Recently, what I'm finding with people is it's more around the age of 2 or 3. So we will, so I use, regression tools, take them on a journey. But to be honest, nowadays, and I don't know why this is happening at the moment, nowadays it's less past life stuff. It's more childhood stuff. But also what I'm finding is that a lot of people are inheriting emotions from someone in their family. So we use the processes that, I teach and empower my clients to use themselves to clear those. If someone is in one of my longer programs, and when we're working on clearing the emotions that come from the childhood, if the pattern keeps coming up, then we'll go and do the regression journey. But interestingly, nowadays it's more the childhood thing. So in answering your question, how would I know? The external world is going to tell us, what's happening in your life. And then, as you know, everything comes from inside. So it's if you look in the mirror, if your world, just say you're feeling unhappy, Okay. And you look in the mirror and what you're seeing is your face and it's looking super miserable. You've got a miserable face on. You don't try and reach out and change the mirror, make your face, your reflection smile. It's an inside job. So it's always about, seeing what people are creating in our external worlds, getting that to show us, because your external world is literally a reflection of your past thoughts and feelings. So we're looking at that, we're seeing what's that telling us, what's happening, and then we'll go in. And it depends on, what the intuition is telling us, because I empower people to tap into their own intuition in an accurate, tangible way. To get their own answers for literally what healing they need, because I'm very much about empowering. I don't want to be, in inverted commas, fixing anyone. I want to give them the tools so that we work together. I hold their hand. It's very new world paradigm healing and coaching that I do. So what happens with that is the healing actually works, and it's not the pattern doesn't recreate itself. Very often I'm hearing from people, my God, I can't believe it. My money situation is cleared up, and that was a problem for 20 years, but I was working on it for 20 years. And this changes through just taking a few steps deeper and through them learning the processes that I teach and I use. Because at the end of the day, and you kind of said this earlier, Alexa, we don't need fixing. We're all great. We're all divine, magnificent beings. We just need reminding of that and to be shown how to get out of our own way.
Definitely. And I think what is something that, you're alluding to as well is that if you, as you're saying, like, you're not trying to come in and be like the fixer. You're trying to, like, you're offering yourself as a way to, like you said, like, remind them of, like, their ability. Right? Like that it's like, it's in them. And I feel like that is really, like, I'm starting to see that's really like a difference because when a healer or a teacher or something can make you see that it's all in you and that you're the one doing the work, that's when I feel like true healing can happen, because you don't feel dependent on someone or something else. You feel open to receive the knowledge and the remembering that it's you and that you have the power to change inside. And that's when, true healing can happen. Which is.
And also when that healing happens and, you see that you have the power, then you know that you have the power to create whatever it is you want, whether it's an amazing relationship or to be a millionaire or, create a life of purpose doing what you love, So, it's super empowering. And it's so exciting, it's because the time is now. And also, babe, yourself, it's, our pain body, the more and more we clear the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle calls it, the more we're able to get our creations out in the world. But also, our thoughts are manifesting quicker. So if we're not clearing our density, our pain, that's going to be manifesting. And that's why it's so important now, especially for empaths and sensitives.
Oh my gosh, you are like speaking exactly what I'm going through right now. It's so funny because, first of all, I'm noticing how, if we are not aligned with something, it will dissolve very quickly. like as of this past week, it's getting more and more intense, but also, like it's crazy, but also how, I love what you just said about like our creativity linked to the pain and the pain body. And, something I'll just share really quick, something that's been coming up for me over the past few days that today, finally, I'm like, okay, I get it. I need to deal with this. When I was younger, my mom was like, when I was like literally like 3 or 4 through when I was like 6 or 7, my mom was in the hospital a lot because she had all different types of cancer and just things that were happening like 3 times in a row. These things were happening when I was younger. And, it was such a young time in my life that like for so long, I was like, that had no effect on me. I don't even really remember it. Like, I did not connect the dots on that at all. And, Anyway, I've always had this thing though about people getting sick around me. When someone gets sick, I almost get mad at them. Like, and it's such a weird, irrational reaction. It's like, I get mad, I get standoffish. I kind of am like, come on, like pull it together type of thing. Don't do this to me. Like, don't fall apart on me. That's kind of the stance I take, which is so interesting because I'm an EFT practitioner. I deal with people's pain all day, but it's like when it's someone close to me and they start getting sick, I get triggered. So, just a couple of days ago, my dad messaged me and was like, oh, I'm sick. Like I got a cold. And I'm like, okay, well, I hope you feel better. And he was like, yeah. And, the next day it was like my mom was getting sick and she was like, and it's just a cold, but they were like talking about how they were sick. And my mom was like, oh, I'm sick and your dad is sick. And can you check on your dad? Cause I'm busy and I'm sick. And like kind of starting to put me in this role of like that I'm supposed to check in and make sure everybody's okay, et cetera. And then this morning it was like even way more elevated of just like, we're so sick over here. Like our house, which is a sick house over. Like this is like the text that I'm getting, and this rage was coming up in me where I just wanted to be like, oh my god, like you're. First of all, you're dramatizing this. And second of all, like, that's what was coming up in me. Like, you're dramatizing it. You're ruining my day. You're all about me. And then there was this other part of me that was like, hold on, like, where's your compassion? Like, these are your parents. Like, you have so much compassion for other people, but you can't have compassion for your parents who are just not feeling well. Like, you would want them to care about you if you weren't feeling well. And I finally got it today that it was like, oh, this is like anger that is, really unresolved from that time when you were very little. Like maybe you don't remember being angry, but you clearly were, because this has occurred throughout your life every time someone close to you gets sick. So it's just, and also at the same time, my creativity is starting to kind of like, it'll kind of like expand and then contract and expand and contract. And it's like, what you said, it's like the creative energy linked with, this energy, I can feel it's like I need to free up this energy in order for my creative energy to be kind of restored. And so anyway, it's just, I had to share that because it's just so accurate to like what I'm going through right now.
Wow. Yay. Thank you for sharing. And it's just, God, our greatest teachers, our parents, eh? And I had a really weird realization just after I became a healer, because I never felt my mum was proud of me when I was a TV producer. So, and all of this was unconscious. So, eventually I made the transition into, doing shiatsu and acupuncture and learning all of that. And it was a massive, massive transition. And I was so excited, and so kind of proud of myself for making the transition. And I remember telling my mum, and she went, oh, no, she's Irish. I've been telling all the neighbours that you're a famous TV producer. And then what was really weird was that even a few years after that, I think through a journey, through a regression or something, I actually realized that subconsciously I'd become a healer to heal my mother. Because my mother, her kind of what she loves to talk about, or what she used to love to talk about, was her health and what was kind of wrong with it. And like you, I used to get super triggered. And, at the time, our relationship wasn't exactly fabulous. But once I realized that I had this hidden agenda of, trying to heal my mom. And then I realized that it's not my job. It's not, I'm a healer because I love working with people and doing the healing work and healing myself, more importantly. Once I realized that subconscious program was running and cleared it, my relationship with my mother just healed and just became beyond my wildest dreams. So yeah, weird, eh?
I love that. And I also love how, you're like demonstrating how sometimes I think that people think, especially when they learn about healing and stuff, that now they need to go heal the people around them that aren't, that they perceive are not in alignment. But truly, like, the most powerful way to quote unquote heal anyone is to really heal yourself, because then you're going to see them differently and the relationship will be a different dynamic. And I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. It was that whole mirror analogy again, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, if only we had a little button we could press to sort that one out every time it came up.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And what about, so what are you working on now? And I know, you've been mentioning working with clients as well. So I definitely want you to, tell people, first of all, how they can work with you. But second of all, anything else that you're working on right now in general that you'd like to talk about would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. I'm working on a couple of really exciting things. I'm all about, it has to be exciting.
Yes.
And one of them is an online symposium where I'm interviewing. It's my third one. I'm interviewing over 30 of the world's experts on basically living a life of purpose, manifesting your wildest dreams, and, clearing any stress and overwhelm that might be around stepping into your power. So that's one super exciting thing I'm working on. And people can find out more about that. Actually, should I give you the link now?
Yeah, sure.
So it's soul-discovery.lpages.co/is this it / and I'll repeat that in a moment. Maybe do you put them in the show notes as well?
I can ask our editor to put them in the show notes.
Okay, yes. Well, I'll repeat it anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, no, they can register for that there, and also what they will get is a 7-tip checklist so that they can step into their power and actually start living life like it's an adventure, like it's fun. Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to live a fabulous, fantastic life, fun life. And that's one of the things a few years ago, I lived in Hawaii. It's one of the things I was kind of stalking and discovering. And I was being told via Hawaiian shamanism and communicating with the dolphins and all of that. And even though you think it might be easy to learn how to live a fun life, it definitely took me a few years of being curious about that and getting to the bottom of how we can do that. So the other creation is, it's actually my signature program. And it's starting in a few months, but I'm enrolling people at the moment, and it's called Fun, Fabulous and Free. So it's about living a fun life, being fabulous after 40 and into your 50s, because they can be the best years of your life. But also it's about freedom. So it's about, being free of those emotions that are holding you back, that are triggering you to create the same situations that aren't fun. And also freedom in the mind, having a healthy mindset that's not telling you you're not good enough or you're not worthy of creating your wildest dreams. We're here. If we have a desire, it's law that we can also create it, So yeah, they're the two things that I'm working on at the moment, and lots of other little, side projects and retreats and all of that. But yeah, they're the key ones. So people can either go to my website, soul-discovery-coaching.com. That's soul as in SOUL, discoverycoaching.com. Or they can get that checklist at soul-discovery.lpages.co/is this it / So yeah, they're my exciting things.
That's awesome. And I completely, again, resonate so much with, how to live a fun life, because that's something that came to me just a couple of days ago. It was like this download that was like, how can you just have more fun? Like, it's kind of just as simple as that. Like, can you find a way to have more fun with everything you're doing? Like, why does it have to be so serious? Like, you're the only, and I'm talking about me, like, you're the only one who's saying it has to be serious. For example, like, when I do this work, I have to be serious about it and get it done. And, like that, even just saying that, like, get it done, it feels so like, oh, this chore. Yeah. And it's like, what if you could enjoy doing that? What if you could have fun doing everything that you do? And I think it's just the key to, because fun equals joy, and I feel like a lot of us just really have lost that sense of joy. So when you were describing that program, I was like, oh, that sounds perfect. That sounds really awesome. I feel like we all need more of that. So that's very exciting. And congrats on all of that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I ask everyone this question, and you've already given us some amazing things, but what is one thing that you think would benefit every Positive Head listener to know or understand as they continue on their own journey?
Well, what popped was the breath, and I know I've already talked about that. But maybe I want to go deeper on it, and it's about taking deeper breaths. I actually wrote about this today. One of the, so I said that, I studied shiatsu and acupuncture and all of that when I stopped being a TV producer. And I was still very cynical and not into woo-woo at all. So it was a great training. It was super difficult, very profound, learning anatomy and physiology and then the, and pathology and all of that. And then the Chinese side of it, all of the acupuncture points and meridians and everything. But one of the key things that I was taught was we learned Qigong practices, similar to Tai Chi.
Love Qigong. Love it.
Oh, amazing.
So good.
Amazing. And actually, I recommend that for people who find meditation difficult because it gives your mind something to do. You're taking these precise, slow movements with your body. But I was taught how to breathe into my hara. The hara is a point which is about 2 to 3 finger widths below your belly button. It's our center of gravity. You see Buddha statues. They all have big bellies. And the reason for that is because they're in their hara. They're grounded. They're connected with the earth. But they've also got this crown on their head connecting with the heavens. They're connecting heaven with earth. They're bringing heaven to earth. So they're grounded, head in the clouds, feet on the ground. But when you're breathing into this area, and again, if you can only breathe into kind of the chest area, you'll know when you take a deep breath. Is your breath going into the chest area, just below the chest, or is it going into the belly? You can put your hands on your belly and see, even push out your belly as you breathe in, and that will help you to learn how to breathe super deeply. And it actually massages the digestive organs and gives energy directly to the kidneys, which are, the oven of the body. I could go on for hours about the benefits of the breath. But if you find it difficult to take these deep breaths, sometimes lying down and putting your hands on, just below your belly button, help to get the breath down there. There's, as I said, there's so many benefits, but one of the ones that I want to share right now is that it allows you to stop thinking. And Eckhart Tolle has a great description of what happens when you stop thinking or when you take these deep breaths. So if you imagine a room and it's full of furniture, so full that even when you open the door, you can't even open the door. Mm-hmm. That's what your head is like when you're not taking these deep, juicy, deep breaths. Your head is full of thoughts, busy, nonstop. There's no room for inspiration, ideas, creative ideas. There's no room for those aha moments. You have a problem, and as soon as you stop thinking about it, or you're in the shower or whatever, you get, an aha moment. You get the answer to it.
My biggest ideas come in the shower. Sorry to interrupt.
Really? Yeah, no, it's amazing. And it's so cool. There's so many great exercises you can do in the shower, like pretend it's waterfall, and, you're letting go of the past, allowing the new to come in. But just come in. It's the breath again,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I know what you mean. Like, you can really, sometimes I have experiences where I'll spontaneously take this breath that feels like somebody else is initiating it because it goes so deep. And I'm like, wow, that was like it felt spontaneous, but I'm like, wow, that was a deep breath, and it felt so good to take that breath, And
it's a connection with the gods, the goddesses. And you did it earlier when you did that massive exhalation, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's really the breath. It is so amazing because it's like, we have an abundance of air around us, but it's like we're only taking so little. And then I think about sometimes when you hyperventilate, if you breathe very, very quickly, like do like a dragon breath or something, people can feel lightheaded. And it's like, because you're literally oxygenating yourself so much that, everything's working better, or everything's like coming alive. And I've done, what is it called? Rebirthing. Have you heard of rebirthing?
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
Oh my gosh, I've had some incredibly powerful experiences with that, and it's just breathing. It's just truly breathing. So I love that your advice is like deep breaths. I think that's so important, that it's the most accessible tool that a lot of us just don't use, and I think it's so powerful. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Well, I think it's great also for just people who are busy at their desks all day or at work and they get stressed. You know, you can access that peace. It's literally peace. It's enlightenment at the other end of that breath. So like the 7-11 breath is really good, or just taking 40 deep breaths a day. And one thing that popped when you were talking, Alexa, was that phrase of, if you ever think you're alone, because, you know, we all have tough times, obviously, and, you know, life can be tough. And yeah, I'm all about, you know, get the gold, the treasure, the learning out of the tough times, because we never look back at our tough times and wish they hadn't happened, because they made us who we are. They made us stronger and make us more grateful. They make us feel better. But there's that quotation that comes to me to remind us that we're never alone. And that is that we are breathing you. You know, God, Goddess.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. I've actually felt that before in meditation, where like I'm breathing and I'm focusing on my breathing, and suddenly it feels like a deeper breath is being breathed through me that I'm not controlling. I've felt that a couple of times. And so I definitely resonate with that. And like the universe is breathing you. Yeah. That's beautiful. Awesome. Okay. So last question before we start wrapping up here is, do you have any fun or inspiring manifestation stories or stories of synchronicity? Any cool stories that just light you up that you'd like to share?
Yeah, the first one that comes to me is, I just had a vision of me sitting in a hammock, writing my book and looking out at the sea. And this was a few years ago. And it was literally only in that moment that I realized that I had manifested one of my biggest dreams. And weirdly enough, a dream that I never thought I would manifest. Like when I was, you know, all depressed in London in the cold, you know, sometimes doing work I didn't love, but even as a healer, you know, I didn't want to be living in London, but I kind of got myself back in a trap of I needed to see clients and the clients were in London. And, you know, I did have this dream of one day write my book and I look out to sea. And, you know, what's fascinating is that, you know, and it still kind of blows my mind a little bit that for so long I didn't think it would happen. And obviously I'd always been taking steps towards manifesting that, but there was an element of letting it go. And that's such a key in manifestation. It's like a lightness around it, yeah, whatever. And it's really difficult, especially with things that we really, really, really want, because there can be a real heavy energy there and, you know, wanting it to happen now and everything. But that's why I encourage people to keep dreaming bigger and bigger and bigger. And the first session that I take people on is what I call their heaven on earth journey. You know, what's your heaven on earth? What makes you go, oh, God, that's bliss. That's my heaven. So they kind of they don't kind of, but they do get clarity on their soul path and the biggest dreams that blow their minds. Years ago, before I had this shamanic, it's a Native American shamanic journeying technique that I use now. But years ago, I would actually ask my clients a logical question. What's the dream that you think you can't manifest? And I'd get them to write it down. And it blew my mind. I was new to coaching then. I'd been doing the healing work for about a decade. But what blew my mind, Alexa, was that literally, and these were quite left brains, logical people that weren't so much into the imagination, visioning and everything. Within months, some of them had created their dream that they didn't think was possible just because they envisioned it and they wrote it down. So that brings me back to, you know, what's so important is to keep dreaming bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger and bigger, because then your little dreams start manifesting. And your little dreams, which used to be your massive dream, manifest. You've forgotten about them because you're dreaming, you know, like for instance, mine is about, you know, I have many dreams around Hawaii because I used to live there. And, you know, I want to have one of my properties there. So that's kind of my big dream now. And I used to think that was real quite negative at some points because I thought, oh my God, am I ever going to create it? Am I ever going to, is this causing me more tension? And most people give up at that point because, there's 3 steps. The first step is that, you get clarity on what you want to create, what you want to manifest. We can all do that. That's easy. Part 2 is you're tested. Are you worth it? So you can't create $1 million business without learning how to create that, how to run it, how to deal with the money without changing your mindset, without, living in your heart, learning how to live an intuitive life, whatever the dream is. It might be not $1 million business, but you're tested. The universe is going, really? You sure? Really? You really want it? That's stage 2. Most people give up there and they go, yeah, no, it's really bad to have a desire. It's not. Natural. Yeah. We're here for. But stage 3 is you receive it, you create it. And then the cycle begins again. But when you've got loads of those cycles going on at the same time, lots and lots of dreams, then they manifest. When you've kind of taken your needy eye off the ball, but you've kept your focus on what you would love. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, totally. It does. And I think you bring up a great point that I don't even know if some people are conscious of the fact. I love what you just said, which is like the conclusion that a lot of us jump to, which is, oh no, it's bad to have a desire. Like, oh no, I shouldn't want this because look at all the stress and the stuff that comes with it. But that's what keeps us repeating and not evolving. And I love what you're talking about just keep dreaming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because you're still looking in the same direction that you want to go. You're just not, like you're saying, you're not focused on that one thing. And that's what I was talking to my one friend who she's like meant to be a singer, and she has the most beautiful voice, and she's just like starting to get that going. And then now all these other things are popping up for her, and she's like, I just feel like I have all these things going on. And I'm like, and that's great, because you don't want to just have one thing going on, because all you do is look at that thing and say, why aren't you moving faster? Why aren't you, like it's kind of amazing to be juggling like 3 different things that interest you. And, cause you don't have to hyper focus on one and look at what's not happening with it. So I love what you're saying about dreaming bigger and bigger and bigger, because it's another way to look at it. Instead of juggling 3 things, for example, it's just kind of keep looking down that road further, bigger, bigger, bigger. And yeah, I don't know, just the way you said that really excited me, and I really like that. So thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Yeah, no, it's true. And also you can't do it alone, especially if you're, I'm very wary about sharing my big dreams with people. But as much as we love our friends and our family, sometimes they feel threatened by our dreams. So you need a coach, you need accountability, you need someone to show you your blind spots to make you believe and know that you can do it. Like everything that I've created in my life, I couldn't have done it without having accountability and coaches, and literally there's been times where, I've jokingly said I'm living on lentils because I would rather, not spend my money on eating out or whatever, but I will always find the money to have a coach. Because, you need that person who's going to show you your blind spots and hold you accountable. And, when we're creating, especially when we're living an intuitive life and following our intuition and, living a heart-led life, we can only see a few steps ahead. It's like when you're driving along a dark lane at night, your headlights only show you a few feet or meters in front of you. And you keep driving along. That's what it's like living an intuitive life and creating your dreams. You're only going to know what the next step is. So it absolutely requires trust and someone that has been there and has created what you want to create as well. Empowering coaches.
I agree. I really agree, because even 6 months ago, I think I thought like, oh, I thought it was more important to invest in things that I like physically needed versus my own development, because I was like, oh, I got my own development. Like I got it, but truly, I'm like looking back over my last 6 months. I mean, really over my last year, but like intensely my last 6 months. And I've, every couple of months, I've kind of found a new coach or teacher that specializes in some area that I'm really wanting to level up in. And you're right. It's so important. Like, it's so important to have that person to hold us accountable, like you said, and to ask us continuously to like kind of almost like tap us on the shoulder consistently and be like, hey, are you pointed towards your dreams? Are you taking the steps needed? Are you are you doing the work to get where you want to go? Because otherwise you're just going to keep going around in circles. And, what else is I going to say? Oh, and, what you said about the family and friends, that's so true. Like, you need someone who's going to be on your side. You need someone who's going to be on the side of your growth, because like you said, other people around you, when they're not growing and you're growing, that really, I feel like it makes them feel like, sometimes it can make them feel like, oh, well, I'm not doing that. I should keep them down here with me because it's uncomfortable to see them doing something and remind me I'm not doing anything. And the second thing is, like change is scary and people are afraid of change. So if, and everybody is selfishly oriented by nature. So it's like, those people that are so used to one version of you are going to be slightly afraid of this new version of you, or what's that going to do to the situation that you have set up. So I do think it's such a good point that you just said. It's like, you need somebody who's going to be on your side for growth. Like you need somebody who's going to be rooting for your growth, and a coach who's designed to do that is, the perfect way. So I think that is awesome. I think you sound like just such an amazing, light, fun coach, and anyone would be lucky to work with you. And we will try to put the links that you mentioned in the show notes. And Gerri, this has been awesome. Is there anything else that you feel called to share before we wrap up?
I'm really glad you asked me, because
go for it.
You said, what's the one thing I want to share with everyone? So breath, definitely. But this question, where's your focus? And you reminded me of that, or what you just said now. Where's your focus? Because just ask yourself at any moment, where's my focus? Because that's what you're creating. So that's why I love working with the imagination to show people their higher structure, their soul path, because all you have to do is focus on that. And that's what is manifested. And it's so simple, but as you know, often it's so difficult. So where's your focus?
Oh, that's a good one. Yep. Yeah. Where's your focus? I love that. And on that note, Gerri, love you too. This is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your love and your light. And we'll be in touch soon for sure.
Yeah. Big hug. Thank you. It's been welcome. So much fun. Big hugs. Love you.
Awesome.
Gorgeous.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye, babes.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.